Welcome back to my haunted library. It's Regina. Today I'm going to be doing my BookTube-A-Thon update. I didn't read 7 books in 7 days, but I did read 5.5 books in 7 days, and I feel like that's a pretty good record. So here is what I read. So the first book I read was Climb the Dark Mountain by Julie Wesley. Now I read this about a week ago, and I honestly barely remember any of it, except that it was about a woman living kind of trapped in a dark castle, and almost every book that you read from these gothic romances had that same setup. So I do remember that part. I enjoyed it, I guess. You know, these are fluff, these are fun to read, and I had no trouble finishing this in one day. Next up was Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. I thought this was fantastic. I didn't read her other book, Gone Girl, and maybe she has a couple other books, I'm not sure, but I saw the movie and I really liked it, and this was amazing. It's kind of like V.C. Andrews, but taken to an extreme. It was very triggering and disturbing, to say the least, but I thought this was fantastic, and I'm watching the series. I'm going to put this down. I'm watching the series and really enjoying it. I don't know if enjoying it is the right word, but I'm completely fascinated. Next up was Haunted New Hope by Linda Lee Macken. This was an easy read in a day. In fact, I did this in one sitting. And I did a video last week about a haunted experience I had, and that experience, or that particular ghost, is covered in that book. This is a book that probably wouldn't be of interest if anyone who's not into the history of New Hope or in this area, ghosts in this area. There were some things that I didn't know that I gleaned from that book. So it was a good read, and I'm sure I will refer to it again as I continue looking at different haunted places in Bucks County. Next, I read The Gunslinger by Stephen King, the first book in the Dark Tower series. I finished this in a day. For Stephen King, it's kind of short. He tends to write very long books. I liked it. I liked the mood. It's very atmospheric, kind of like an old Western. I haven't watched the movie, but I probably will after reading this, and I may continue with the series. I get a little frustrated with Stephen King's books sometimes. He famously doesn't plot, and sometimes I wish that he would, because it's beautiful writing, it's beautiful atmosphere, the characters are really great, but sometimes the books just don't really go anywhere. Just a thought, but I did enjoy it. I always get something out of reading his books. The next book I read in one day was A Gathering of Crows by Brian Keene. This was my green book. I really like Brian Keene. This is my second book of his I've read, and I like his kind of Pennsylvania hillbilly ethos, and he really does seem to know a lot about occult mythology. I really enjoyed Gathering of Crows. I will continue to read Brian Keene's work. I really do like his style a lot. And then lastly, I read, because it has a beautiful spine and it's also a beautiful cover, is A Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde.
It takes courage, Mr. Gray, to realize one's own nature fully and completely. The bravest man among us is afraid of himself, of his desires. We are punished for our refusals. Every impulse we strangle broods in the mind and poisons us.
This is one of my favorite classic works of literature, along with Frankenstein. It's probably my favorite novel, and I never tire of reading it. I do pull it out every couple of years and read it. So I read this one, took me a little longer than a day, about a day and a half, and I just loved it. I get so much out of it. I think Oscar Wilde is a genius, and I wish he had written more novels. I have to admit, I did not wear this hat when I was reading any of my books, because I was reading on the fly, and it was a little inconvenient to wear a black hat. But I feel like this hat does go well with this book. So that was my BookTube-A-Thon 2018 wrap up, and I really enjoyed it. Maybe next year I will try again, and I'll try to finish 7 books in 7 days. So let me know in the comments if you did BookTube-A-Thon this year and what you thought. So the New York Times did an article about BookTube this morning, and I noticed that it was trending. So that's really cool, and I just hope it brings more attention to BookTube and it continues to grow. And I'm really happy just to be part of the conversation. So thanks for checking in, my haunted library, and I'll talk to you soon.